Cheers, guys, and welcome back to the first new episode of the VR show. Excited to be here. Wanted to make this episode a little bit more informal, guys. In the future, we're going to cover all kinds of virtual reality topics. We're going to talk games. We're going to talk news. But quite frankly, I'm not at that point yet because I'm still catching up myself. And honestly, you guys are probably a lot more versed and a lot more up to date with current advancements than I am. But I can guarantee you one thing. I'm going to catch up, and I'm going to catch up really quick because I am absolutely invested. Now, let's go back in time a little bit. So, as you know, I've been in this living space forced VR time stasis, right? Haven't had the ability to do any VR for the last 5 years. Let's take a look back at that last episode. What's interesting about it is it came right at the start of 2019. I believe it was in February. And I made an interesting prediction in that episode because we were talking about artificial intelligence. And I was kind of wondering aloud, in awe at the potential. Imagine a day where we have artificial intelligence for a game like Skyrim or Witcher 3. How that would be to interact with NPCs. How that would be a game changer. Take a look.
One of the problems with immersion in VR is when you extend the experience beyond the setting, the landscape, right? As soon as you start introducing inhabitants, that's usually when immersion lets you down, right? The fourth wall gets broken because the voice acting is terrible, or the responses are super scripted, or there's no response at all. You've got somebody inhabiting this virtual world with you that you cannot interact with, right? Or you walk right through. We're going to get to that point. The quality of the interaction, and then of course the realism, right? The old uncanny valley. How convincing is the AI? I mean, it's one thing having a robot. You don't expect it to look human, be human, right? But something that looks human, you expect it to behave like a human. 10 years from now, the payoff is an RPG in VR. Now we're talking in VR and have it feel like a living, breathing fantasy city. Picture Witcher 3. Think on a big, huge, massive scale, because that's where we're headed. Witcher 3, but with AI that's convincing. Wow. Wow.
Now we fast forward to 2024, and there is in fact a mod that allows you to do exactly that in Skyrim. Now it comes with some caveats, right? For example, ChatGPT, and this isn't just ChatGPT, this is a lot of AI, has some restrictions built in. Now, it tends to be a little overly dramatic, it tends to be overly polite, and it does not like to tread into the controversial, right? In terms of mainstream thought. I think you guys know where I'm going with this without digging any deeper. So the NPC interactions in Skyrim are amazing, but everybody feels a little bit too polite. But still, it shows you the potential of interaction because these are NPCs that know where you've been, that you're new in town. They go so far off the script that it feels like a different game. And that, to me, guys, is just absolutely awe-inspiring. The other thing we talked about in the news at that time were battery packs, right? The types of battery packs that you'd strap onto your head-mounted display and they would cast wirelessly and connect to your PC for PC VR game experiences. They weren't that great, right? There was a lot of latency, lag in terms of input lag, frame rate issues, but they showed us the potential. And again, me being surprised, fast forward 5 years to the present date, and we have headsets like the Quest 3 with wireless built in. Now, let's go into a little bit of detail on what I've done with the Quest 3. So when I bought this Quest 3, which is now about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I've spent a lot of hours with it every single day, I bought the link cable. I was convinced that this would be required to have the type of PCVR experience I was used to. Now, keep in mind, this was still all sight unseen. As soon as I got home and put that headset on, holy crap, clear, pancake lens technology, end-to-end, triple, quadruple the resolution that I was used to with those first-gen headsets, right? PSVR1 headset, the HTC Vive, and the Rift CV1, all of which I had. I tried AirLink, and because of my network situation, it wasn't ideal. I've got a gigabit connection, but by the time the wireless gets up here, it's not the greatest. It's probably cut in half on the third floor. And while I do have a mesh on the second floor, it's still less than ideal. So I was looking for ways. I tried hotspots, right? I tried using my phone. That didn't work well. I tried mobile hotspots with my built-in wireless 6E. That didn't work well. I bought external ones. That didn't work well. So I was left with two choices after a lot of research. That was the router route, right? Going with a router dedicated, so having that wired to my PC separately, or trying the D-Link AirBridge. Now, to get a decent router, as an IT guy, one that I would be happy with, I knew I'd be spending about $300. So I figured, look, worst thing with the D-Link AirBridge, if I don't enjoy it, I bring it back, right? I asked this question up front. Don't feel scummy about it. They were okay with that. I bring it home, and let me tell you, absolute game changer. Now, probably not for you guys, but again, keep in mind where I'm coming from, right? The bulky units on the headset, not required with the Quest 3 and the D-Link AirBridge. Now, I've been using Virtual Desktop. I understand Steam Link is now available. I've still got AirLink, but I'm quite enjoying Virtual Desktop. I find it very stable. The images are crisp and clear. I can tweak on a granular level, which to me is hugely important because I'm a tinkerer at heart, right? I will spend probably a 1-to-1 ratio tinkering and playing overall, right? Unless it's something really immersive. And we'll get into that with Half-Life Alyx and some of the other stuff that I've been trying. So let's talk about my current setup. One of the things I wanted to do is not just be a little bit more minimalist in terms of how much crap I drag with me from place to place, because my wife and I have moved a lot in the last 5 years since that last episode. So I thought, this time I'm going to invest in a gaming laptop, but treat the gaming laptop as a desktop replacement. Ended up getting a Gigabyte Aorus 17H. It's a i7-13700 CPU with a 4080 RTX mobile GPU. Absolutely love this thing. Now, because I also have the History channel and a Mythology and Monsters channel, I do a lot of video editing. So I wanted a unit that had a lot of memory capability. And most of the gaming laptops, like the Asus ROG Strix series, max out at 32 gigabytes. This unit maxes out at 64. So, of course, DDR5 64 gigs, I went with the maximum. It also has two NVMe SSD M.2 slots. I maxed them both out, so I've got 2 times 4 terabyte for a total of 8 terabytes. And I use an external Alienware 34-inch OLED display, which is ultra-wide and just absolutely amazing, right? So that's kind of the environment behind the scenes that I've introduced the Quest 3 into. In terms of games, let's talk about them, okay? So Half-Life Alyx is the first one. This was an amazing experience back in the Vive and Rift first-generation days, right? So we're talking 2017, I think, beginning of 2018, somewhere in there. And I was still using those headsets. The game was absolutely amazing, but we had screen door effect. We had frame rate issues. We had sacrifices in terms of quality settings on Half-Life Alyx VR. Things of the absolute past with the Quest 3 and this new desktop replacement setup that I have. I was able to crank everything up. Run at 90 hertz refresh rate. Do it wirelessly with the D-Link Air Bridge. And let me tell you guys, not just the clarity and the resolution, which is phenomenal, but the end-to-end clarity with those pancake lenses. I was honestly not prepared for that. So damn clear. Now, there's issues, and we'll talk about that in future episodes. The pass-through, less than ideal, right? I think most of you will agree with that, but that's only going to get better. But back to games for a second. So Half-Life Alyx, of course, got the replay through, and I'm still loading up save files because it's that damn good, right? I've also gone back to old games that I remember not being able to crank on my old 1080 Founders Edition and the first-generation headsets like Raw Data. Absolutely amazing. The other one, Wrath of the Fire God, which was an archery-type arcade experience. Again, absolutely amazing with this new headset. So those of you who haven't missed out on the last 5 years like me, I urge you, go back to some of those old titles with this new tech. They are absolutely stunning and probably closer to what the developers originally envisioned their experience was going to play like in virtual reality compared to the results that we got with those first-generation headsets. In terms of new games, I've purchased Wrath of Asgard 2. I've got Assassin's Creed Nexus, and we're going to cover all of that in future videos. I've also purchased Into the Radius, which, as a survival game junkie, looks right up my alley. I've got mods, EVGA. I've been tinkering with that on Unreal Engine games. Valheim mod, Doom 3. A freaking kid in the candy store, guys. That's how awesome it's been. Let me know what Population 1, I've heard from quite a few of you guys, so that's on the list as well. I'm not a huge multiplayer guy. I prefer single-player experiences. When I was younger, I loved the multiplayer. I was huge into FPS, and I still enjoy FPS. I just enjoy them more on my pace, if you get what I mean, right? But still, suggest a way. Let me know what else I should be trying. So I said I wouldn't really get into VR news, but let's cover a couple of things. And the first thing that I want to touch on is the PlayStation VR 2. I don't have it. I plan on getting it in the future as I can afford to get that. But again, my priority is kind of on the History Channel because that's the moneymaker. That's the one with the high sub count and the views. This will be more of a hobby, but I assure you it's going to be fun because we are still going to cover the latest and greatest, and I hope to add PSVR 2 to that. Now, what's exciting about the PlayStation VR 2 is the recent talk about it interfacing in, possibly in the future, with PC VR games. Sony is testing it right now, and they hope to have an announcement later this year. Guys, that would definitely be something I'd be interested in. Granted, Fresnel lenses, but the eye tracking, the foveated rendering, there's a lot of potential there, and I know the gameplay experiences are probably top-notch. Come on, Resident Evil 4, I'm drooling at the thought of being able to play that, and it's unfortunate that the author of EVGA, who's also done a lot of the Resident Evil ones. Yes, I have those, and I've been playing Resident Evil 7, the Biohazard one. It's unfortunate that he hasn't done Resident Evil 4, but I get it. Politically, there's probably some issues behind the scenes. Fair enough. But hopefully that's one that we can catch up on in the future. You know what? I really like this trend. I think it's the future. I've never been a huge fan of exclusives. I understand why they exist, but I'm not a fan. I don't like them, right? In my opinion, Wrath of Asgard 2 should have had a built-in option with the, scaled-down graphics for the Quest 3, yes. But at its heart, I feel strongly it should have been a PC VR experience. Something that Steam players who don't have a Quest 3 headset should have been able to enjoy right out of the gate. There's still advantages to the Quest. You can still take it away from your PC, bring it to a friend's house and play it that way. But kind of doing that gatekeeping and not being able to let the whole VR community experience it. That's unfortunate. Now, I see gaming opening up a lot more. Sony, for example, doing a much better job of bringing their titles to PC with almost simultaneous and some simultaneous releases, which I think is the future. And come on, Steam, the Lord thy Gaben, they've done digital right. And it's the one thing that I like to point out to people who have consoles, and, you know, I'm a console lover myself, but when we talk about the cost benefit of owning a console and a proposition like the PSVR 2, one of the things that a lot of people don't take into account is the games library and future proofing, right? For example, how much of that PSVR 1 library is playable on the PSVR 2, right? How many games can you play on your PlayStation 5 from previous consoles? Because backwards compatibility has been something that we've seen come and go. It's been less than ideal. It's been hardware-based, like with the first-gen PlayStation 3s. Then it went software. Then it was removed completely. PC side of things with Steam, when I bought Half-Life 2, I bought that game in 2004, guys. That's when my Steam library started. We're going to fast forward again. This episode has been a lot about freaking time travel. In 2024, I still have that exact same Steam library. But instead of just having Half-Life 2, it has 500 plus games. And every single one of those games has followed me through every single PC hardware upgrade that I have done since 2004. Whether it's desktop, GPU, RAM, laptops, to the present day, that library has gone with me. Factor in Steam sales, PC game sales in general, and that cost-benefit proposition suddenly starts to look a little lopsided, right? And I think a lot of people forget that. And that's, again, why I'm such a strong believer in open platforms, open architecture. And I know Zuckerberg talks a mean game, right? In terms of wanting an open architecture, but stuff like Asgard 2, it doesn't necessarily follow those words. So I see that opening up even more in the future, perhaps cross experiences. What I don't understand, guys, in the 5 years that I've been away, is why companies, I think the guy's name is Luke Ross, who also does VR-type mods, albeit behind a paywall, and you can like that, hate that, feel neutral about it. It is what it is. It's his model, right? What we can't argue is that he's a pretty talented guy. And same with the EVGA Prey God, I think it is, or Prey Dog. Again, I'm new to this, forgive me. Also very talented. Why haven't the bigger game companies put somebody like that on a payroll? I'm not talking about a huge team. I'm just saying throw a carrot at your audience. Those of us with VR, you have one person on a payroll, maybe a couple of people. It's not killing the bottom line for those bigger studios. And their job is exclusively to go through the back catalog and make them VR friendly. Like what a Luke Ross did, like what the EVGA did. Why do we not have that happening officially, right? It is such a carrot to throw in. It's like doing a cross-buy. If I buy a specific game on one platform, having it become available on another. Just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Now, not to go into a whole Steam thing, but the other thing that they recently did is release the Steam Audio and make that open. That has some exciting potential when we talk about what was used in Half-Life Alyx, what that means for game developers, being able to utilize that code now and implement that in their VR games and applications. I can't wait. Anyways, guys, a lot of rambling in this video because, again, informally, I feel like, we're sitting around a table. I'm just chatting with y'all. Let me know your thoughts on the topics that I brought up here, things that I may have missed in the 5 years, games, experiences. I'd love to hear from you, and I can assure you I will be going through as many of those as I can over the next few days, weeks, and months. Guys, happy to be back. As always, cheers.